This is Rockslapping Champions. Player 1, playing Swann, we have Sino-Worgen. Player 2, playing Alarak, we have Still Not Elf. So let's have a look at the masteries over here. This is a game that is played on hard difficulty, as you can see over here. And we have Swann, who is a level 269 player, and Alarak, who has still not reached his mastery points. Mastery-wise, I think they're mostly okay. We have the Immortality Protocol structure health split here. It's something I don't quite agree with. I believe one or the other should be selected depending on your kind of build, your preferred build. And this one seems fine as well. This split kind of depends on how fast you can get your drill out. But as we can see over here, Alarak does not have any of his mastery points. He is a sub-mastery level commander. And you can see here, he does not actually have his Death Fleet as well. So right off the bat, we can see what Swann's plan is. Swann is not making any SCVs, and I believe Swann has not made a single SCV since the start of the game. Instead, he has decided to go and build 6 supply depots in the process. Alarak over here has sent probe, and he has already started to overcharge the Spylon, and he's able to clear his expansion. Now, the one thing about Alarak is at sub-mastery levels, in fact below mastery level, I believe 65 or something, Alarak doesn't have a strong enough structure overcharge to clear his expansion entirely with one overcharge. So generally speaking, when you are playing at low level Alarak, you will probably need to use 2 overcharges to clear your expansion. Nexus comes down here for Alarak. Swann, on the other hand, sending only a single SCV to start building these supply depots. He has 3 more queued up in addition to the one that he's currently building. He's taken 1 refinery right now, and he's started now to produce his SCVs. The first attack wave has spawned and is on the way, but note that this is on hard difficulty, so the attack waves will be a little bit smaller than you would normally expect on brutal difficulty. Pylon comes down over here, and you can use the Pylon to initially overcharge and clear the attack wave, but usually Alarak has enough DPS to deal with the attack wave, and sometimes he can even one-shot it. Like in the case of Reapers over here, he can actually one-shot this attack wave with 1 destruction wave, so this overcharge is kind of wasted. A much better use of the overcharge would be to actually overcharge the Spylon again and clear whatever's left of the expansion. Probe is working away on that gas rock over there, and Swann is putting on a tech reactor to his factory. And we have a forge in the making for Alarak, and we have another warp gate coming up here for Alarak. Swann is producing 2 Goliaths right now, and he has stopped producing SCVs on his main. He does not seem to be interested in taking his expansion, which is somewhat interesting. He drops his combat drop over here, and the combat drop is going to have absolutely no problem dealing with the first Void Thrasher and the defenders over here. This is generally the recommended use for your combat drop. It allows Swann some more time to ramp up, and Alarak starts to make his way over here. But I believe, seeing from where the camera is, I believe Still Not Elf is not paying attention to Alarak, and there are 2 siege tanks and a bunch of Marauders and Marines, and they make short work of Alarak. Swann is producing some more Goliaths here. He's restarted his SCV production, and he's building an engineering bay over here. This combat drop now is basically getting thrown away, which is not that bad anyway. It's done its job. Its job was to clear the first Void Thrasher and the defenders and weaken whatever forces were over here, and they did a good job here. Next attack wave is on the way, and since this is a Shadow Tech attack wave, again, the attack wave size will be a little bit larger than the previous one, but again, this is on hard difficulty, not on brutal, so the attack waves will be a little bit smaller and significantly less scary. Alarak is now in position over here, and there's another overcharge here again that comes down for this attack wave. And as you can see here, most of this attack wave, I think this attack wave had maybe 8 Reapers and 1 Marauder. Having this overcharge over here is somewhat wasteful because Alarak one-shots all the Reapers with 1 Destruction Wave, and then he can basically finish off the Marauder that's left over. For Alarak use on this map, what you should be doing is having a War Prism floating around Alarak and then overcharging that to help with your pushes. Still not Elf, being a generous god here, helping his ally clear his expansion, which is very, very kind of him. But Alarak, bunch of Supplicants, a Stalker, a Havoc pointed on the wrong rock over here. And we have 2 Cyclones and 5 Goliaths here that are looking away on these rocks. Let's have a look at the production-wise. We have a bunch of upgrades coming up for Swann, and Swann is building a Blaster Billy to try and defend this side. Alarak is getting armor upgrades. I believe he is only focusing on the armor upgrades here, which in most cases, armor upgrades are not very, very useful when you are playing in co-op, because armor only adds 1 armor to your units, and that mitigates 1 damage. Most of the time you will be dealing with spellcasters, and armor does not negate spell damage. It's much better to go and get the attack upgrades instead. But we have a War Prism on the way, which is a very good thing for Alarak. He's going to be able to use that aggressively with his overcharges to deal a lot of damage. We have a Science Vessel out now for Swann, and he is getting the upgrade for the Science Vessel that makes the healing beam free. Combat drop goes down here, and starts to make its way towards the second set of Void Thrashers. Those Void Thrashers have spawned and are starting to work their way on this on Sergeant Hammer's fortress. Over here we have an SCV that is barked, but no command center seems to be built, and the Sino-Worgen seems to be flowing a lot of resources, so I'm not sure what is up with that. Another SCV's over here, come to join the party, seeing what's going on. Third SCV boops the other 2 SCVs forward. First Void Thrasher goes down, and we have the last Void Thrasher, which is being attacked by Alarak and a bunch of combat drops. This is going to go down very, very quickly. And let's have a look at the units here. We have 2 Cyclones and 5 Goliaths for Swann. The Alarak composition here has 2 Vanguards, 1 Slayer, and 3 Havocs with 8 Supplicants, so this is fine. Get another warp in here of some of Alarak's units, and they are just cleaning up whatever's left of the space. Swann's army seems to be parked over here. I'm not really sure why they're positioned on this side. They should be making their way towards this 3rd set of Void Thrashers. Alarak is just cleaning up over here, and we have another warping of a bunch of Supplicants. I believe Alarak is going to start working his way towards this central camp and exact his revenge on the Marines and the siege tanks that killed him earlier in this game. Command center's up. SCVs staring at the new, nice, beautiful, shiny command center. And now the SCVs go start mining. Nice. So we have a bunch of pylons over here. There is a siege tank over there. There we go. I was just going to say that. There are 2 siege tanks over here, and they will have no problems dealing with destroying such a pylon. So that probe just gets completely wrecked. Next attack wave comes up over here. 1 destruction wave, and a lot of units are already dead. You can see how much damage Alarak's destruction wave does. He doesn't really need the overcharges to take care of these attack waves. As the attack waves get larger, it may be useful to have the destruction wave, but at this point in the game and at this difficulty level, it's much better to use the overcharges to clear and push objectives. Swann is getting his first laser drill upgrade, which is relatively late. At 13 minutes, getting that drill upgrade is very important because you can actually use that drill to clear the attack waves in 1 shot. Alarak starts to push over here. 1 Cyclone starts to peek around, sees what's going on, and I believe does not do any damage. Oh no, he fires a few shots at the armory. Overcharge of War Prism over here, and this is exactly what I was talking about, using the overcharge to aggressively push. It does a lot of damage. Hybrid Dominator here hits a Supplicant, which is interesting targeting, but The War Prism is starting to get focus fired down. Concentrated Beam comes down over here. And Alarak with his Empower Me just makes short work of whatever's left. As you can see over here, the War Prism with the overcharge is dealing a lot of damage. It's very useful, very important to use the War Prism aggressively, especially at low levels of low Alarak levels, because Alarak doesn't have his ascendants. He is relatively weak in terms of pushing power until you use these War Prisms aggressively. The Archangel has now spawned. Both players flowing a lot of resources here, but still not Alpha's doing okay in terms of the pushing power. Swann, on the other hand, has 126 supply with 3 more supply depots being queued up. He only has 68 supply of units. Unit-wise, 2 Cyclones and 10 Goliaths. The reason why this is happening, if anyone is wondering, is because he only has 1 factory over here. He's producing Cyclones out of his factory. Swann can go up to 3 tech reactor factories and still be able to maintain production. Archangel goes down over here. This area basically stood no chance against the forces of Alarak with 2 overcharged War Prisms. And now we have a Wrathwalker over here as well. Alarak has most of his upgrades right now. I believe he has gotten his ground armor and his air... Okay, the air armor upgrades don't actually come up with Alarak. They are an artifact of the editor and how it treats Alarak's upgrades. So he's gotten his attack and his armor upgrades here. Yeah, he's going for his next level armor upgrades. Most of the time, as I said earlier, it is better to just go focus on the attack upgrades. The armor doesn't really do very much. But Swann, on the other hand, has not gotten his pulse cannon upgrade, which is really important for clearing this last area. The pulse cannon can clear a lot of the strong units. There are going to be a lot of battle cruisers and siege tanks, and using the pulse cannon can actually weaken or even completely clear that area. War Prism moves forward, overcharge on the War Prism, but there is a Thor and 3 Goliaths and a bunker that focus that War Prism down. The War Prism just goes down very, very quickly. Alarak moves forward over here, backed up by his army of Vanguards and 1 Wrathwalker, and is able to clear up that initial defensive force that's there in the front of the base. Swann now pushes forward with his army of 4 Cyclones and 17 Goliaths. He drops a concentrated beam down, but I think he misses. I think he only hit the battlecruiser that was there, which is not very optimal. There are 3 Banshees over here, but Swann has detection, so he's not going to have any problem with that. Alarak has a ton of Havocs here, and a combat drop is also dropped here, and the Void Thrashers go down very, very quickly. That is GG.